The Apostate Muslim Girl and the Terrorist Students. By Dr. Ahmed. Chapter 1. The Unmatchable Lovers. In those days, going to study in India was the heart desire of every Sudanese boy. There were many reasons for such strong desire. Young Sudanese boys were so fascinated by the beauty of Indian movies. Those movies showed the beauty of nature and the unmatchable beauty of the Indian girls. So, every Sudanese boy wished in his heart to travel to India and enjoy the marvelous beauties of Hindustan. Each and every Sudanese boy wished to go over there and in due time return to his country with a university degree and a beautiful Indian bride. Beside its natural and human beauties, India was the cheapest place to study in. Other destination countries for Sudanese students were Egypt, Iraq, and some European countries. Sudanese students complained that in Egypt and Iraq they were often beaten and abused by the police. Moreover, the Arabs of those lands treated the Arab Sudanese students as slaves due to their dark skin color. Getting student visa to an European country was very difficult, while getting an admission in an Indian university was very easy. Also, India was considered the safest place for foreign students. When this report was made, there were around 10,000 Sudanese students studying in India. 3,000 of them were in Pune University. The remaining 7,000 were scattered all over the other Indian colleges. At that time, there were 300 universities in Hindustan. Sudanese girls were very few in India. Most of the Sudanese families would not allow their girls to venture into the unknown world. They believed that a young girl without her parents would be vulnerable to moral attack, criticism, temptation, etc. Nevertheless, for any social norm or belief there would be an exception. Yes, the Sudanese lawyer, Ahmed Salah, was one of those few families who allowed their daughters to go for studying in India. His daughter was the only child he had. The girl's name was Inez. The lawyer Ahmed believed in the gender equality. Hence, he allowed his daughter to enroll herself at a medical college in the University of Pune. Inez was 20 years old when her father traveled with her to India and completed her enrollment. He paid $10,000 as a first installment. All other Indian colleges were free except medical and engineering colleges. For 5 years, Ahmed Salah had to pay each year $5,000 for the medical study of his daughter. In addition, he had to send to her every month $300 for her lodging and living. Inez Ahmed Salah was not only a smart student, but very beautiful girl. She had very charming personality. She was already engaged to her cousin, Osama Hashim Salah. Osama also was a good student. He was doing his master in business administration at the Khartoum University. He was in his final year, when his fiancée left Sudan and traveled to Hindustan. Inez wasn't in love with her cousin, but accepted his proposal because her father and mother chose Osama from among her many cousins. Before she left Sudan, Inez developed a kind of emotional attachment with her neighbor, Tariq Harun al-Ajabo. At that time, Tariq was just 16 years old and still in school. Nevertheless, Inez fell in love with him and secretly engaged him in physical relation, such as kissing, hugging, fondling, and nothing more. Tariq too confessed his love to Inez and told her he wished to be with her in India. Inez didn't promise him, but she said she would try to bring him over there. Although Inez had a lover and a fiancé, Tariq and Osama, she had decided to remain faithful to both boys. She knew and understood that her parents would never allow her to marry a boy like Tariq. They might permit her to marry a dog, but not a person of Tariq's family background. Tariq's father from Darfur and his mother from the Noba Mountains. Even though his father was one of the 5 richest men in the city, still Inez's parents would not agree for the match. Even if his father would weigh their daughter with pure gold and pay them 1 billion Sudanese pounds as her dowry, still her parents would reject the proposal. On the other side, Inez's father was from the Shajai tribe and her mother a Jafaria. The Jalia and Shajia tribes were considered to be the purest Arab tribes in Sudan. The former traced ancestry from the Prophet of Islam and the latter to Al-Abbas, the uncle of Prophet Muhammad. Therefore, neither Inaz nor Tariq had ever dreamt of getting married to each other. They just wanted to be close to each other and enjoy one another until Inaz finished her medical study and marry her cousin Osama. For 1 year, Inaz didn't see her lover. While she was in Khartoum, not a single day would pass without the two lovers seeing each other. And whenever they got a chance, they would express their love in various ways. They played together, studied together, ate together, and kissed, hugged, and fondled one another's bodies. So, their love was solid as iron, but their commitment was zero. Inaz was allowed by her parents to visit Sudan during her summer vacation and spend 2 months in Khartoum. It was the happiest times for the two lovers when they met again after such a long separation. Inaz spoke in tears and told Tariq how much she missed him and how much she suffered without him. Tariq too expressed his deep agony without his beloved Inaz. To avoid another lonely long year, the unmatchable lovers decided to go to India together. There were many obstacles stood in their way, but the lovers were determined. First of all, Tariq still in school and needed another year to finish grade 12. Without successfully completing grade 12 and obtaining a high secondary school certificate from the Sudanese Ministry of Education, no Indian university would give admission to any foreign student. Secondly, at the age of 17, Tariq would not get a student visa from the Indian embassy at Khartoum. Thirdly, Tariq might not get a Sudanese passport without the express permission of his family. Fourth, his parents might not allow him to go to India without finishing his schooling. Nonetheless, the lovers decided to remove all those obstacles. First, Tariq had to convince his father that it would be better for him if he did his grade 12 in India. If his wealthy father agreed, then half of the lovers' problems were solved. Tariq's daddy was thrilled when he learned that his son could also go to India for his study. So, with the obtained permission of his influential father, Tariq got a passport as well as an Indian student visa. In fact, his daddy was envious because their neighbor's daughter got an admission in a medical college in India. Chapter 2. The Terrorist Students. Although India was a secular country, still some Sudanese Muslim students were applying their Sharia law among the Sudanese community in Pune city. Those Muslim students were part of the dreadful terrorist group of the Muslim Brotherhood. Other Sudanese students called them the terrorists. If a Sudanese boy fell in love with a girl and the two lovers were seen moving around, the terrorist students would hammer them and warn them against repeating the sin of khalo. Khalo means a male and a female being together without the benefit of marriage. The Prophet Muhammad said, if the man and the woman are isolated, the devil would be their third partner. If a Sudanese boy and his girlfriend were cohabiting out of the marriage bond, then those righteous police of Allah would shed their bloods. Sudanese communist students who drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes also endured visits from those terrorists. Their correctional visit was called washba. The word washba means jumping over sin and destroying it. Their latest victims were a Sudanese female medical student and her Sudanese boyfriend. The lovers were attacked and battered by those holy police of Allah. Their love affair was a kind of stigma among the Sudanese. All students disapproved their love relation. Even the so-called secular and communist students were against the affair. The Muslim brothers and sisters and secular and communist students had never agreed upon something before except this one. Many years ago, a Sudanese student at Bombay University had changed his religion from Islam to Christianity. His action was considered a great abomination by the Sudanese community in all over India. All Sudanese students condemned him as a filthy apostate and agreed he deserved to be put to death upon his return to Sudan. They also boycotted him and decided to beat any Sudanese student who talks or greets him. Their action was a means of intimidation and coercion so that he would scare back into Islam. They also decided to wage a psychological warfare against him and achieving that aim by totally and completely isolating him from his own Sudanese community. They used propaganda, threats, rumors, and other psychological techniques to intimidate, demoralize, and demonize him. Nonetheless, the communists refused to boycott him. They just considered his apostasy was wrong. They too believed that his abominable act was motivated with some material gains. Some Sudanese students spread nasty rumors about him. Those rumors reached Sudan and eventually reached the ears of his relatives. They accused him of converting to Christianity because of his love with a Christian girl, because some Western missionary people promised to give him visa to a Western country, and because of huge amount of money offered to him. Due to those ugly rumors, the apostatized boy suffered untold numbers of abuses and persecutions. Nevertheless, the daring action of those Sudanese lovers was considered to be more abominable than that of the apostatized Sudanese boy. For that reason, all students without exception strongly and vehemently condemned their love affair. And when the lovers got beaten by those terrorists of Allah and His Prophet Muhammad, no one stood by their side or pitied them. In fact, the boyfriend was battered more than his girlfriend. There was no justifiable reason given for punishing the boy more than the girl. Religiously speaking, Islam commanded that the adulterer and the adulteress should be punished equally, 100 lashes each in case they were unmarried, and to be stoned to death if they were married and having other husband and wife. But, those Sudanese lovers were punished differently because the girl was a daughter of Arabs and the boy was a son of black Africans. So, the reason was racial. The boyfriend wasn't just beaten, but was exiled out of Pune city. He was banished to a faraway city called Nagpur. He was then warned from returning again. Before kicking him out of the city, he was strictly told by the righteous police of Allah that if he dared to come back he would be slain by the lions of jihad. On the other side, the girlfriend was ordered to repent and kick the accursed devil out of her life. They also appointed some cruel terrorist females to spy on her and then report her movements to the Grand Terrorist of the Muslim Brothers. Chapter 3. The Painful Separation. So, the unjustly persecuted lovers, Inaz and Tariq, found themselves facing a separation which more painful than the one they endured before. Now it became a question of life and death. Those terrorist students threatened the life of Tariq and turned the life of Inaz into hell. Inaz had hard choices to make if she wanted to be with her lover again. She had either to forsake her medical study and run away with her boyfriend and the two hide somewhere in India. She knew no other medical college would give her admission without paying thousands of dollars. But, if she chose to sacrifice her medical education, she would incur the wrath of her family. Worse than that, her Arab father might cut her into pieces if he came to know that she had left her medical college because of a black Sudanese slave. The other hard choice, Inaz should continue her medicine study and marry her boyfriend. Just to marry him in paper, in order to appease those dreadful terrorist students. No matter what, neither her parents nor her fiancé should know about this marriage of convenience. However, Inaz being both smart and practical girl, she knew such a marriage would sooner or later reaches the ears of her parents and her fiancé. For the Sudanese students, such a union would be breaking and shocking news. This is because it had never happened before in Sudan that an Arab girl as her had married an African boy like Tariq. The last and most agonizing choice for Inaz was to forsake her lover and concentrate on her medical study. For a few weeks, she made that last painful choice. During those weeks, she suffered so much. She could not concentrate on her study anymore. She missed her lover very much. She concluded that she might die of sorrow or commit suicide. Wherefore, she decided secretly to visit her lover in his exile and spend a few weeks with him. Somehow, she managed to fool those female terrorists and traveled to the city of Bombay. She just informed some close neighbors that she was going to Bombay for some medical reasons. She chose a time to make her trip when all other Sudanese students were busy with their final exams. So no one followed her out of Pune. From Bombay, Inaz travelled for 14 hours by train to reach her exiled lover. When she saw her lover, she didn't recognize him. Tarek had changed a lot during those cruel days of their painful separation. He looked as if he had neither slept nor eaten food since the time they were unjustly torn apart. His life became devoid of meaning without Inaz. He concluded that he lost her forever. He was not enrolled in any school and he wasn't interested in having any education. He was thinking day and night about his beloved Inaz. In addition to his internal suffering, those evil terrorists of Pune informed their Muslim brothers and sisters of Nagpur about his sinful life. They told them that he used to live and fornicate with a useless Sudanese girl. Therefore, Tarek and that shameless girl were shame and stigma to the bright name of Sudan. Inaz knew that if she left Tarek and returned to Pune, he might either kill himself or die of sorrow. Therefore, she decided no matter what those heartless Muslim brothers might do to them, she was taking her lover back to Pune. At first, Tarek wasn't agreeable with the decision of his beloved. Nonetheless, somehow Inaz convinced him that the police of Pune would protect them against those Sudanese student terrorists. The lovers decided as soon as they would reach Pune, they would go directly to the police and lodge a complaint against those Sudanese terrorist students who had beaten them and threatened to kill them. Chapter 4. The Hard Choice. Fortunately, when Inaz brought back her lover from his exile, there was an important change happened in the leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood. The former emir was called back to Sudan to occupy a high position in the Islamic government. The grand terrorist had already obtained bachelor and master degrees in commerce from Pune University. Before his sudden departure, the emir had enrolled in a PhD program. He finished a couple of months in his doctoral study. The tempting position in Sudan led him to drop the idea of getting a doctorate degree. The newly appointed emir happened to be from the same tribe of Tarek. This new terrorist leader was against the decision of punishing Tarek more than Inaz. He knew the unfair punishment was racially motivated, because Inaz was a white Arab girl and Tarek was a black African boy. Accordingly, when the new emir heard that Inaz went to Nagpur and brought back her conjugal partner, he didn't call for washba against the adulterer and the adulteress. He just summoned some of his top terrorist leaders and asked them to go with him to the apartment of the two Sudanese sinners. Before we narrated what those terrorists did to the two persecuted friends, we need to state some important facts. First of all, although each and every Sudanese student in Pune called Tarek and Inaz shameless adulterer and adulteress, nonetheless, the two lovers had never had sex together. They continued their affair as it used to be in Sudan. They always expressed their passions through hugging, kissing, and fondling. Inaz time and again told Tarek that her virginity belonged to her fiancé Osama. Tarek respected the decision of his beloved and satisfied with the physical indulgence he got from her. Secondly, the two lovers had never decided to get married. They knew and understood that they were unmatchable lovers. Thirdly, until that day, Inaz's parents didn't know that their daughter had taken their neighbor's son to India and living with him in the same apartment. When the emir and his terrorists approached the apartment of the so-called shameless Sudanese adulterer and adulteress, they gave Inaz and Tarek two choices. They had either to get married according to the Sunnah of Allah and His Messenger Muhammad or be separated forever. At first, the lovers said they were living together as brother and sister and hence had never engaged in sexual intercourse. The terrorists told them, even a child wouldn't believe their lie. When the terrorists began to use their hands on them, the lovers acquiesced. Although Inaz against her wish was forced to accede to the idea of marriage, she told the emir their marriage had to remain top secret. The grand terrorist rejected her demand and said, one of the conditions of the Islamic marriage was public declaration. He then told them that, after their halal marriage, he would personally ensure their safety in India as well as in Sudan. Tarek submitted and complied silently and without protest. When the two lovers agreed to get married, the emir and his goons took them to a mosque and contracted them in halal marriage. The emir and other two student terrorists witnessed the marriage and added their signatures. After the so-called halal marriage was conducted according to the Sunnah of Allah and His Messenger, the terrorists congratulated the newly wedded couple and left. Before they left, one of them said to Tariq, "Now Inaz is your lawful wife and therefore if you fuck her 50 times in the day, no one would bother you." The wicked terrorist spoke those disrespectful words in the presence of Inaz. Chapter 5. The Decree of the Amir. Tariq and Inaz knew that their Islamic halal marriage was only true in paper, but in reality they were still platonic lovers. Even so, they decided to celebrate their pseudo-marriage. They chose to go for honeymoon to Goa City. While the newly married couple were enjoying their honeymoon in the golden sands of the beaches of Goa, the Sudanese students in Pune had turned the city upside down. Many of them believed that it was the first time in human history that a black slave had married a free white Arab girl. Such serious issue led to many physical fights and verbal quarrels between the Arab Sudanese students and the African Sudanese students. The Arab Sudanese disapproved the marriage and considered it sham. They came to know that the terrorist African Amir had forced the Arab girl Inaz Ahmed Salah to marry the black slave Tariq Harun al-Jabu. His ulterior motives was not to uphold the Islamic mores among the Sudanese community in Pune, but to humble an Arab girl. They said further, the black Amir conducted that sham marriage between a pure Arab girl and a black crow because he was having a feeling of insignificance, inferiority, subservience, etc. Furthermore, they believed that the wicked Amir wanted to humiliate the Arab Sudanese students all over India. Also, many Sudanese students cast serious doubts about the validity of the marriage contract. They quoted the following two hadiths. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Any woman who gets married without the permission of her wali, father or guardian, her marriage is invalid, her marriage is invalid, her marriage is invalid. If her husband has consummated the marriage, then the mahr, dowry, belongs to her in return for that. If she does not have a wali, then the Muslim ruler is the wali of anyone who does not have a wali." Narrated and classed as Sahih, authentic by Al-Tirmidhi, Hadith number 1102, Abu Dawud, Hadith number 2083, Ibn Majah, Hadith number 1879. Again he said, there should be no nikah, marriage contract, except with a wali, guardian. Narrated by Al-Tirmidhi, Hadith number 1101, Abu Dawud, Hadith number 2085, Ibn Majah, Hadith number 1881. It is Sahih, as stated in Irwa al-Ghalal, Volume 6, page number 235, by Al-Albani. On the basis of these hadiths of the Prophet Muhammad, according to the Sharia law, it is not permissible for a Muslim man to marry a woman without the permission of her wali, guardian, regardless of whether she is a virgin or previously married. This is the view of the majority of Muslim scholars, including Al-Shafi'i, Malik and Ahmed. Nevertheless, with one stroke, the Amir refuted all the above objections. He claimed that he acted as wali of Inaz in order to prevent further haram relation which led to zina, fornication. He based his decision to act as wali for Inaz on the collective agreement of the Muslim scholars which said, if there is no wali and no Sharia judge, then her case should be referred to the ruler or whoever is acting in his stead. If there is no such person, then her case should be referred to the Sharia court. If there is no Sharia court, then her case should be referred to a man who holds a position of leadership among his people and is committed to Islam. If there is no such man, then her case should be referred to any trustworthy and religiously committed man who is fit to be a wali. So, the Amir said, he was a trustworthy and religiously committed man of Allah. Furthermore, he said, he was a man who holds a position of leadership among his people, the Muslim brothers and sisters, and is committed to Islam. Eventually, the majority of the Sudanese students accepted the decision of the Amir when he said, he had compelled the two rebellious Sudanese students to get married because he wanted to prevent further haram relation which led to a shameless fornication.